I'm joined today by Joël Quenneville, software developer at Thoughtbot, co-host of the Bike Shed, writer and frequent conference speaker. He'll be delivering his talk, State is the First Decision You Never Made, at Blue Ridge Ruby this spring. Joël, thanks for chatting with me.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really enjoyed reading your talk proposal when we first received it. Do you mind sharing a little bit about the intent behind your talk?
Yeah, so the talk is all about state, and the idea is that web applications and web development in general is sort of built on a paradox. HTTP is a stateless protocol, and even every request you make to the server might be hitting different copies of the server software. And yet, users expect stateful experiences. And so, how have we as an industry managed to bridge that gap? So it's a little bit of a fundamentals talk, but it's also a little bit of a wait, this is a decision that we're constantly making with a lot of trade-offs involved. And oftentimes we make it without thinking about it or through the lens of some other sort of proxy decision. We're talking about, do we prefer front-end heavy or back-end heavy applications? And so this is stepping back a little bit and thinking back to fundamentals. What does it mean to craft stateful experiences over a stateless protocol?
I didn't really grasp this paradox of stateful experiences over a stateless protocol until many years into my own software development journey. Did I just miss that class or something?
I probably is a little bit different for everyone, right?
Yeah.
If you're especially working sort of old school, like I started, where you're just writing, PHP scripts and FTPing them up to a single server, you probably don't run into as much the situation where you're talking two different copies of server software that have no sort of held memory. But everybody's experience is going to be different there.
Yeah, that makes sense. You kind of pointed to this already, but one common theme I feel like I've sensed across much of your writing and speaking is like foundations or fundamentals, or maybe even I'd say missing fundamentals, whether that's discrete math, enumeration, graph theory, or time. And you do speak about other things, but this seems to be a common thread through a lot of your work. I'm curious what draws you to those kind of topics.
I feel like there are sort of two sides of me, a little bit in conflict with each other. There's the idealistic side of me that really likes understanding the theoretical things, understanding the why behind everything. And then there's the practical side of me that just wants to ship things.
Yeah.
And I found that if I'm teaching things to other people, going too hard on the theory without any practice it's not useful. But just teaching techniques oftentimes is not that big of a payoff. So I really like situations where I can show practical techniques, but then zoom out a little bit and teach just enough theory to maybe give you an aha moment.
Yeah.
And now, not only do you have the tools to solve the problem I demonstrated, but you also have the ability to think through other types of problems in that category in a way that you didn't before.
Yeah, that makes sense. It finally clicked for me today, actually, as I was thinking about this, because I'm a computer science dropout and I love building stuff. And theory, to me, if I had to start with theory, I probably wouldn't have made it to building software. But when you're building, you run into all these problems when you don't know fundamentals. And you do a really nice job of drawing builders down to that level of the underlying concepts and materials that we're working with that we need to understand to make better decisions. And this one about statelessness is really interesting because, again, it's so fundamental to the protocol and what we're working with. So I think that's really cool.
I'm really inspired by sort of the pedagogy contrast of two functional languages that I tried to learn, Haskell and Elm. And Haskell is very much a theory first, practice afterwards.
Okay.
And I found that I personally struggled with that style. And Elm takes the opposite approach. It's let's give you the minimum theory you need in order to just get you practical. And then the other theory stuff will emerge along the way as you learn this journey.
Interesting.
And that's one that really connected with me. And so that has impacted my approach to sharing and teaching in my work that I do in Ruby and just web development in general.
That makes sense. I was actually curious if you're still doing much Elm these days, because I know you've talked about it quite a bit.
Yeah, not a whole lot. I do a little bit of kind of hobby stuff on the side.
Yeah.
And I'll often use its type system as a way to express ideas. It's very concise and is able to express ideas in a way that I find really helpful. So a lot of my notes will use examples that are in Elm when I'm trying to capture concepts.
That's cool. Huh. You mentioned in your talk description that you're working on a book called The Web as a Platform. I'm already sold. So would you maybe share a little bit about this and where you are in the process?
Yeah. So the idea behind this book is that we are all about writing code, but writing web software is not just about learning to write JavaScript or learning to write Ruby. Your code runs in an environment. And the environment that it runs is going to totally shape the types of constraints that your actual code is going to work under. And the web should be treated as one of those platforms. So the constraints of working in a client-server architecture, the constraints of working with the HTTP protocol, are things that are going to totally shape the types of products that we can build and the types of problems that we face. And so this book aims to sort of be all of the non-coding parts of being a web developer that you have to think about. This talk that I'm pitching, which is talking about the problem of state, is lifted from one of the chapters of the book that looks at that exact problem.
That's awesome. It also fits really well with this theme that I sensed of missing fundamentals, which, again, thinking about this book seems like it's a missing guide that we never got when learning web development. So I'm excited to see this.
I feel like most people that try to teach web dev are going to go really language heavy. They're trying to teach you to code. And I'm avoiding that. I'm like, what are all the, like you said, the missing fundamentals? A lot of the inspiration for the book came from just me answering questions over and over again for junior developers.
Yeah.
So someone runs into like a CORS error in their console and are like, oh, what did I do wrong in my front end code? And then having to explain that even though you're experiencing the error in the browser, the error actually happens on the server side,
right?
Or is caused by configuration on the server side. And sort of seeing them have a mind blown moment there.
Yeah.
I once had somebody ask how to handle saving a file from a front end application. And I think I blew their mind when I asked sort of which file system do you want to save to? Okay. Because you might save to your server, or you might want to actually do a download to the user's machine.
Right.
And those are two totally different things. But because we live in a sort of split client server world, you have to ask that question.
Right.
Whereas this person was coming from more of a traditional, like, local Python scripting background. And so he was used to just, there's a file system, you can write to it.
Right. That makes sense.
So those are the sorts of things where, like, he knows how to code, but, like, now he wants to get into web stuff, and, like, the whole paradigm is different. And those are the things that you will not learn from a, like, how to web develop textbook, because they just want to teach you HTML and JavaScript.
This also reminds me a lot of a great long read I read several years back called The Grain of the Web by Frank Camiro. I don't know if you've heard of that, but
I have not. You'll have to give me the link.
Okay, I'll have to do that. It was really mind-blowing for me at that time, and really spoke to the concept of thinking in terms of materials. Artists are often thinking in terms of materials, and it affects how they work. You know, the way that you work with the materials changes depending on the medium that you're in. And the better you have of understanding your medium, the better work you can do expressing within it, and following its grain, like rather than fighting the grain, which I think is related to a lot of what you're saying.
Yeah, that does sound a lot like that. This sort of idea of thinking about not just writing code, but coding on a platform and how the platform shapes the programs that you write.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks so much, Joel. We're really excited to see you at Blue Ridge this year. Can't wait to watch your talk. So thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.